We have a whole group of actors in the studio tonight, and so it's kind of fun. So we're going to be talking about something that's a series of 9 one-act plays that's going to take place next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we want to tell you all about it so you can take advantage and go down and see it in Norwalk. So with me is Alan and Kimberly Zeller, and they are pulling off this whole 9 different act plays. The 2 actors are doing it all. They're playing all, I think, 18 different characters. And overseeing it has been our wonderfully talented Mark Graham, who's been on the air with me before. So, Mark, I wanted to turn it to you first and see if you could tell the audience about TAW.
Well, the Theater Artists Workshop is in Norwalk, Connecticut, in East Norwalk, and we're on Gregory Boulevard. We have about 100 plus members. They're all actors, writers, and directors. They meet on Monday night to work on new plays, and actors bring in scene work, and it's a very exciting place. We've been there. We've been in Westport or East Norwalk for about 33 years. I'm really excited about this production. We're calling it Zeller versus Squires, so that because it's 2 of our finest actors, and they happen to be a husband and wife, and they live here in Milford. I didn't know if you knew that. And
I know that.
And they contacted some of our playwrights and really found great pieces they wanted to do an evening of two-handers, we call it, or 2-actor plays.
Two-handers.
And they wanted, and I worked with them to showcase their talents. Each piece is different. They last between 10 and 20 minutes, and it's just a fun evening. We just had a dress rehearsal tonight, and we rushed right over here, so it's really exciting to be here. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. They do play 18 different characters, and they are different, Dolly, I assure you, and it's a lot of fun.
You know, when you first told me about Theater Artists Workshop about, 7, 8, 10 years ago, and we call it TAW.
That's correct. Yeah.
And then nobody knows what I'm talking about. So I'm hoping tonight we'll break the ice on that and tell people.
Well, we occasionally do performances for the public as benefits, but we really are a workshop or a gymnasium in which the actors are able to work with playwrights. And we really are a group to work together, and it's on occasion that we open it up. This is a benefit. That's why we're opening it up. And these are pieces that they have developed in the workshop over the last couple of years.
So each one is written by different
playwright
members.
Yes. Fred Stroppel, who is one of your favorite playwrights.
I like his work.
I think he's written 3 of the pieces, and they're very funny.
Yeah, he's really substantial playwright.
Yes,
and you have the gamut. Then you have people that have moderate
a couple of them are actors who have decided to write, but we have a really good mix of people, and the writing is all excellent. These are all really perfect little plays. Yes.
So just to tell you where this is, because nobody knows what I'm talking about. When Mark says Gregory Boulevard, and if you're not from Norwalk, if you were from Norwalk, you'd know right away it's the road to Calf Pasture Beach.
That's a good way.
That's
a good way to describe. And we're in a Masonic hall, but we have taken over half of it. It's been our home for over 20 years, and we have a beautiful little 100-seat theater, and everybody's invited to come. And it's a nominal cost. I know we can't mention it on the air, but
Yeah, so it's by donation, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you seat about 60 people, 75?
Well, we can seat up to 100.
Oh, you really can? And
yes.
It's very intimate. People like
that.
Yes.
You feel like you're right there. Right. You can see.
Everybody can see everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to be seen, stay out of there because everybody's going to see you.
Okay.
All right. So let's introduce Alan and Kimberly Zeller now and let them, let's see, can you guys get on your mics for when you are? And tell us a little bit about, because you're involved, you must have created this idea.
Well, this idea of us working together in a show is something we've been thinking about for years. In this day and age of television and film and theater, it's harder and harder to be discovered, to get out there and do your work. And the older you get, you're less likely to be pulled into the business. So making your own vehicle, you're creating your own destiny in the business.
But you said you started by working together. So you can't say that you've never worked together. You started in California, you say, by Los Angeles. Is that what you said, Kimberly, by working together?
It was actually right outside of San Francisco, and that was, golly, in the early 90s, I do believe, without dating us. It was a little while ago. And as Alan said, what we've always wanted to do is we've worked together throughout the years. The thought was to eventually do something like this, to sort of showcase our capabilities as well as that of the Theater Artists Workshop Playwrights.
And as Alan said, also to get it out there.
Exactly. So this is sort of the tryout, if you will. And then if this launches and where people seem to enjoy it and we get good feedback on it, we'll then, or even negative feedback, we'll learn from it and we'll then take the show and we'll hone it. And we may, put in a different piece in and take another piece out and eventually probably, rent another facility, maybe in the New Haven area. And then eventually probably rent space in New York City so we can showcase it there.
Okay, so you're workshopping it, right? I mean, you're just working on it.
We're just starting, exactly. So,
and you have Mark at the helm, even though he said he's not the director. What did you call yourself, Mark, in this situation?
I think I'm production consultant.
Consultant, because he's not going to be here that weekend. That's why, because he's living in 2 places now.
That's right. No, I'm
doing
flying off to L.A.
Oh, 3 places.
Yeah, that's right.
I know, it's amazing how you move around so much.
yes.
So can you tell me what that play was that the two of you met? The name of it, you said it was at Long Wharf. You're saying that's how you originally met each other.
Right. I did this particular show at Long Wharf many, many years ago. The play was called Dearly Departed. And from Long Wharf, the play then had its West Coast premiere at a theater outside of San Francisco.
So who was the artistic director at the time? Because they've had about 3 different ones in the last 25 years. Had Arvin Brown, right?
I believe he was still
He was
at
there a
the
long
helm.
time,
Yes.
and then there was another person, and now Edelstein, right?
Right.
And he's doing pretty well this year, actually. He's having a good year. They're having some outstanding. All right, so you were living here.
Correct.
He wasn't in the picture, huh?
No. And so I learned in the trade papers that the show was having its West Coast premiere outside of San Francisco. I contacted the artistic director at that particular theater, and I told him that I was in the original production at Long Wharf. So I asked to audition, and I did. And he called me up, and he said, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is I didn't hire you for the part that you played in New Haven, but the good news is I hired you for the comedic lead. So I thought, ooh, how exciting. This is wonderful. But then I also was scratching my head thinking, well, wait a minute. She is married in the show and she has a husband. And when I auditioned by myself. So I said to him, wow, that's exciting, but who's playing the husband? He said, oh, it's this guy named Allan Zeller. Don't worry about it. You'll love each other.
Yeah, but you look good together, I have to tell you. Don't they?
Absolutely.
They look like they go together. So he knew that already. Did he meet you already? Yeah, he had met you already.
He had met us separately, individually, and Alan had actually worked for the theater before I came along. So I was a new addition to the theater. So once I arrived, then we had our first reading at the boardroom table. And it was kind of oil and water. We weren't mixing at all.
Oh, is that because she's an East Coast girl? Alan.
It had a little bit to do with that. It wasn't so much the East Coast. We were doing this show. This was our version of the show out on the West Coast. And she had a whole scrapbook with all the pictures of the production.
Ooh.
And I was a little bit disturbed at that time because I thought, what does that have to do with our production of that? And so we kind of butted heads a little bit, but I guess what it was kind of like puppy love to a certain degree.
Did you think she's smart, Alec, when she showed you that album of all these clips?
Oh, I thought probably that, well, who does she think she is?
He had a special name for me that we can't say on the radio.
All right.
Yeah.
And I had one for him, too.
So then what happened? I mean, I meet people. I live in Easton, this little town near Sacred Heart University, near Trumbull. And when I arrived 40 years ago, these people thought I was this New York City slicker. I don't know, we're going to do that New York values idea, or whatever. Meanwhile, I'm very genuine, and I care a lot. I give a lot. I'm very community spirited. So they all had to eat their word. They have eaten their words so many times. So when I remind them of what they thought about me the first year I lived there, So then what happened after that when you started working together?
So we eventually, yes, things got better as far as we became friends during the course of the show, and the theater liked us so much that they wound up hiring us for a year's worth of work. So we stayed
Different shows,
yes,
different.
and they hired Alan for their children's program. He was involved in their faculty. I went on to an all-women's show, and they also paired us together again for another play called Love Letters at the time.
Yeah, is that same one that we've all heard just happened? It was wonderful.
Actually, that's at Long Wharf right now, I do believe.
It's wonderful. It just closed today. David was there.
It just finished. Sorry.
Yeah, they had the idea at the time in the Bay Area. There was well-known couples, and so they
they moved
pulled all
it.
these well-known couples in, and we were well-known at the time in the Bay Area. So every weekend basically had a different well-known couple.
That's a nice idea. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yes, so we rotated in, exactly. So then after the year's worth of work, then I wound up leaving to come back to Connecticut where I was living. And during that course of the time, though, while we were there in that year, my mother came out to see me in one of the shows, and she met Alan for the first time. And I said to my mother, what do you think of him? And so she said, oh, very nice guy. And I said, well, there's a possibility he might come out to Connecticut. So when I left California to come to Connecticut, he wound up coming out in his car, and he drove the country in his broken down Mustang.
Oh, yeah.
And he did
Great.
it like
4-cylinder or 6? Please tell me it was 6 or 8
Oh,
cylinder.
no, it was the most unromantic of the Mustangs. It was a 4-cylinder hatchback.
Yeah, I know what those were like, actually, from 1960s,
Had
70s.
My whole world belongings were all packed in the car like the Beverly Hillbillies. And I made it across the United States in about, was it like a day and a half?
Oh,
Well, yeah.
I did not stop driving because I was
No.
afraid the car would not start up again.
I know. I did one of those
Yeah,
trips.
didn't it leak antifreeze inside the car?
Yes, it was not a good car. And I drove in right through New York City in one of the worst storms that I ever
brother.
seen.
That's right. Oh, and I remember too, because the reason why it was so important to have my mom's blessing, because I was actually living at her home at the time, and she had a finished off basement at the house.
Oh, I figured.
I thought perhaps he could rent from her. So I said, if he moves out here, could he rent the downstairs? So that particular night when I thought he was coming, arriving to her home, I waited and waited and waited. It was becoming like midnight at the time. And I said, you know what? He's never going to get here. I wound up taking off all my makeup. I put my pajamas on, and lo and behold, there he drove
yeah,
up
of
in the
course.
driveway. Yes, exactly.
But by then, you must have known each other pretty well if you worked together for a year.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we knew each other pretty well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I figured that he's moving in. I mean, that's what I figured when you said. So now you've been together like a couple of decades or
Oh,
something?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
nice.
So it's we decided, and it was we were going to do this. We thought about doing this show, but a couple of people at TAW who were on the board had suggested that we do this, and we thought, we've been mulling around about it, but we haven't really, lit a fire on ourselves to do it. And we said, this is going to make us do it. And so it put us in a position that we had now a time schedule. We had a couple of months.
I figured schedule. Has to be a
Gather
schedule.
this material and get something going. And it did. And it forced us to make something happen here. And unfortunately, all of these playwrights are friends of ours, and I've done all of their works. And so I was able to acquire the work for them. And
You have to pay? You have to pay within the, I don't know if I'm supposed to ask this or not.
because we're
when you're
a
in the
workshop,
guild.
all of the playwrights have donated their plays to
Oh,
be
good.
performed here,
So-
as has Alan and Kimberly. And everyone working on it is doing it as a workshop as a benefit.
So have some of these 9 playwrights come in and watched you rehearse, or is this going to be they're going to see it for the first time next weekend, or?
some of these pieces we actually
Like-
have done before. Maybe a couple of them we've done before, so they have seen it. Some of the other they will all be there for the show. Every last one is going to come in.
But they don't have any say, right? How you interpret it and act it.
Well, they probably could have had some say.
They don't
decided
anymore.
to come, but in many cases, they have seen the pieces and they trust the piece. They've called me to ask me how it's going. So
like
they go
being-
through the phone.
Being careful by
Jim
calling them.
Gordon, who is a
Yeah,
playwright
friend
that
of
you
mine.
know, he's
A little
written a
bit.
brand new piece that has not been performed before.
Correct.
And they're presenting, its premiere in the play, and I think that's probably the only one that's really premiering in the play. The rest have been done before.
Yes.
Not always with the same.
Because I
cast.
just wondered how that works out in the acting world. Because I know when you do things like what I do, the last thing in the world I would ever do is show the guest a copy of the cut piece that's going on television, because I don't have the time to start hearing how they felt about it, or who's going to.
When a play is usually developed in the workshop, the playwright is very much involved in it. But because these pieces had kind of been done before, they have stayed away from it. Jim Gordon has asked me many days, how's it going? What's going on? I just want to see it on opening night. So it depends. They know also the couple, and they know what they can do with the piece, so they trust them. So.
Yeah, and they're all going to be together afterwards, because it's just 3 days, and you guys belong to this TAW,
And
so they're going to
pieces
continue
will be done
on.
again and be performed.
If you were doing one play with one playwright, and you were going through the work and the process, and that playwright was there, you'd have one focus. And you have the director, you have the playwright, you have the actors discussing how this thing should grow. Many plays, they take 5, 10, 15 years before they get anywhere. So it's a long time. So this is very short. But to take this many playwrights and try to schedule.
I don't know how you're going to do all this. 9-1. What'd you call it? Twofers or something?
Well, we call them. Well,
9 of them, though.
9 of them.
So if you do 5 minutes,
we
are you
call
going to
it
do
2
5 to 10 minutes on each one? That's like an hour and a half.
Yeah, we have an hour first act and about
Oh, you are going to stop?
a 45-minute second act.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, you are going to stop, because everything today is like 90 minutes, boom, right through. You know why they do that, don't you?
Because
So everybody has to leave.
Yeah.
'Cause
And you just mentioned that a little bit ago, Fred Stroppel, one of the playwrights, and he's done some sitcom work too, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
And I do believe one of the other playwrights, Susan Cinnamon, just did a recent episode of The Goldbergs for ABC. Right. And we also have in our lineup that's Susan Cinnamon, who did the Goldbergs episode. We also have, in addition to Susan Cinnamon, Jim Gordon, Frederick Stroppel, we have Elizabeth Kaiser, and we have Rosemary Foley, and Drew Denbaum. Those are all members of the workshop.
All of them have won awards around the country and actually overseas for their plays. A lot of these people, we developed, some of these plays were developed into movies, which we then took to the Big Apple Film Festival with Rosemary Foley. I did a movie. Actually, I did a movie with Jim Gordon that was submitted out to festival. So these when we do the workshop, these are things that grow and grow and grow.
That's what's so good about it,
But it's it's 9 plays, but every second is taken, and if you get a little disinterested, we got another one.
Yeah, another one comes,
and another one, and another one.
And I don't know how you change all these props. I mean, I don't understand how you're going to do this. Like you said, they're back to back.
They're masters of disguise. They walk off stage and immediately they don't even want to dress her. I've offered
really, because it goes to black, and then you just come back on with the next.
There's a scene change, and then they're into the next scene.
Yeah,
well, it's also nice to talk about the fact that all theater and film is about everybody involved. So without people like Mark and our lighting person and our crew manager, people to make this magic show happen, the magician just doesn't get a rabbit out of his hat. He's got a rabbit handler.
Yeah, it's fun there, right? Because you see it happening.
True, and that stage manager is Mark Hamilton, and our lighting and sound person is PJ Latursky, and also
terrifically talented.
We owe a thank you to Stephanie Hazard, who's the current president of TAW, who actually came to us with this idea. So this was because she suggested it, and actually too, it was truly something that was always in the back of our mind. And Alan and I had wanted to do it, and as he said, this sort of pushed us along. So.
I just want to remind everyone that there is no reservations as such. It's first come, first serve. If you'd like to go and
Oh, Mark, tell them where it is exactly. Okay. It's hard to find that.
5 Gregory Boulevard, which if you get off the exit for Stu Leonard's off of 95 and
it's exit
the opposite direction.
16.
Yeah.
It's exit 16. It's near Penny's Diner.
Into, past Penny's Diner, under the railroad tracks, around
the Rotary.
The Rotary, which is a
also known as the cemetery.
The cemetery.
Yeah, there is.
And there we are. There'll be banners and things outside, and it'll be a lot of fun for people and a place to discover, and I know you're going to have a good time.
So it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
What's Friday. The website?
The website is taworkshop.org, and you can find out more information there.
And we have a phone number there, too.
All right. If you want to call, the message will be on the phone, although you can't make a reservation. It's 203-854-6830.
So you're going to have fun because I've come so many times and I just say yes,
Well,
when I hear you're going to do
You're coming Friday night, aren't you?
I come Friday night.
Well, then you can meet Dolly there as well.
Yeah, I
right,
can
on
say
Friday
hello.
night and say hello.
It's such a small place. It
Yeah.
would be easy.
You'll pick
and
her out.
David,
You can tell by her voice.
No, David's not going to be. I thought David was going to be there.
Okay.
It's the voice, right? That voice. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I know you have to do a few of these a year, right? As
Yeah,
nonprofit.
we use it. It helps us as a nonprofit. And also, we need to pay our rents and our dues alone don't pay for the place that we're
So they have a little coffee and cake and some refreshments that people donate, and people put a little money in a hat. And I think the whole thing's charming. And it'll probably be over in 2.5 hours. So if you
the
get
most,
there
yeah.
at 7:30, you'll get a seat.
No problem. Yeah.
And it's very friendly. Where everybody sits like on benches. We're like, aren't we?
No,
those
they're
are chairs.
They're chairs.
Even up
They're pretty-
higher?
yeah, they're all comfortable.
You're
chairs.
not going to want to leave.
Yeah, I've come back so many times, and so has David come so many times. So all I can do is recommend this. You met the two actors, and they're going to be approachable afterwards when it's over. They're going to be there.
Yes,
Everybody-
we would love your feedback, actually. Yes, that terrific. That would be wonderful.
You could do if you have the time. I don't know. Q&A afterwards. Just get a little. Kimberly Wilson. Am I saying?
Yeah,
she has this amazing talk back thing afterwards. So just you could do that. I don't know. 9 acts a lot to do.
No, I think that's what we were thinking, and they'd come out to talk with the audience, and they can give individual feedback. We chose not to put this in because of the way the
Yeah,
movie's
it's a
designed.
lot to do. All right, so best wishes. We'll be there cheering you on, and I hope this reaches some people. I'm sure you'll fill the house.
Well, thank you for having
Thank you.
us.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
And
This
it's
is
just
wonderful.
really fun to talk to you one-on-one, other than I've seen you on the stage, both of you. So good luck with that, right? And we'll see you next weekend.